On any given day, I speak English, German, and French. Being multilingual has given me an entirely new perspective on life. Now, there's plenty of videos out there explaining the impact that being multilingual has on your brain itself, but today I want to focus on the mind, and specifically the lived experience of someone who speaks multiple languages every single day. If you're just starting out with a new language, maybe this will give you an idea of what to expect as you bring it further into your life. But on this channel, I actually look at a range of different mindsets and explore how learning from them can make you become the best version of yourself. If that sounds like your cup of tea, then please go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any of those videos. But for now, let's just get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about today is code switching or language alternation. And that's basically when you switch between different languages throughout the day, sometimes even within one sentence. This is the sort of thing that can get you a lot of funny looks, but it's a really important starting point for understanding how becoming multilingual can affect every single aspect of your life. First of all, you need to be prepared for how tiring it is. Switching between one language to the next can become super tiring throughout the day, and a lot of the time you just end up going to bed with your head spinning with all these foreign words. Like anything, once you get used to it, you become much more accustomed to switching languages for different circumstances, for different people. To set the scene, my fiance's French, we met each other in Germany, and now we live together in the UK. So that's three major influences on our life from different languages, and somehow we've combined them together in some kind of pidgin language that probably doesn't make sense to anybody else. But even more strange is the fact that you'll feel compelled to speak a certain language in a certain context all of the time. I know that when I get really tired, I just start thinking in German, and it's a really weird thing to happen, but I think it's just because your brain's getting so tired, it's just looking for every ounce of resource it can possibly find to kind of keep you going until the end of the day. Sometimes if you get used to doing a certain activity in one language, then you'll automatically switch to it whenever you're doing that task, even if you don't need the language to do it anymore. The second thing that you'll get very accustomed to is going down cultural rabbit holes, sometimes for languages that you can't even speak. This is me trying to justify the fact that I am in the top 2% of twice streamers on Spotify, according to my year in review. I could probably say like 2 words in Korean. But seriously, the fact that K-pop absolutely dominated my year in music isn't necessarily a new thing. I've been through all those phases before, whether it was German hip-hop, this Dutch band that I really like called Spinfist, or whether it was just listening to a lot of French music to practice my French. I've always found myself going down cultural rabbit holes, and honestly I love it because that's what you learn another language for. The third way that being multilingual will impact the way you think is that you'll start seeing patterns in absolutely everything, especially when it comes to language. As an English and German speaker, it's really easy for me to look at Dutch and just find patterns in the way that that language works and be able to figure it out. And some ways it becomes even more fun than reading something in a language you understand, because everything I look at in Dutch is basically like a cryptic crossword puzzle. This inquisitive mindset that sets off when you learn a new language also means that you get a much deeper understanding of your own language. You'll probably start to get interested in the etymology of words, and you'll start to ask yourself, why does this word actually mean what it means? And you'll have to go back and find a common Latin root that explains exactly why these two words are so similar but have a different meaning. This is when you get deep linguist, and you'll find yourself going on endless conversations with people just about grammar and the history of language. But you know what? You'll find it fascinating. If that sounds like you, then smash that like button so that I don't feel like a massive nerd. The cool thing about seeing patterns everywhere is that it'll give you a fourth superpower, and that is the ability to solve problems. And this is a great chance to talk about psycholinguistics and how you can make different decisions depending on the language that you're speaking or thinking in at the time. Believe it or not, there's tons of evidence that the grammatical structure of a language or the different words that you use can have a massive impact on whether you save money for the long term or spend it all in the short term. We all know what camp the Brits are in. Now that might be because thinking in another language can give you enough emotional distance to make a more rational decision than you would in your own native tongue. But it also could be that just by learning a new language, you're actually creating new pathways for your brain to follow, almost alternate routes to get to the right answer. It might even be that the very language we speak impacts our perception of life entirely. And so by learning a new language, you might be opening yourself up to an entirely new way of looking at things. And that brings me to my fifth and final point, and that's that learning a new language can change your personality forever. Think about it, if you've learned a new language, You're not going to be as articulate or spontaneous as you are in your mother tongue. And even when you get really fluent, you'll realise that the linguistic rules and mechanisms within that language don't allow you to express yourself in the same way that you would in your own language. That means two things. One, you're going to have to get used to expressing yourself in a much more limited way. And two, you might actually find new quirks of that language that allow you to express yourself in ways that you hadn't been able to before. But another interesting thing that you'll pick up on, especially if you work in a foreign language environment, is that the power dynamic really shifts depending on what language you're speaking. If you're in an office where the predominant language is German, it might not be as easy for you to be as convincing to your peers as you would be in your own language. That's something that I definitely struggled with when I was working over there. But also you'll find that you have different relationships with people depending on the language that you're speaking. You'll especially know this if you meet a partner from a different language background. Maybe you'll speak to them most of the time in your own language, but over time they'll encourage you to learn theirs, and you'll start mixing in social circles where you are very much the only English speaker. And you'll notice that when you go and meet their parents or their friends or their family, you'll have to rely on them so much more to make some decisions or to explain what is going on around you. I think that makes for a really full relationship. I hope you enjoyed this video and it's given you a sense of what it's like to learn foreign languages and just integrate them into your life. I think you can learn something from absolutely everybody on the planet that will make your life better and make you feel happier inside. That is what this channel is all about. It might not always be languages, but I hope that if you subscribe, you'll find that this channel grows to be a wealth of knowledge and openness about the world that helps you to find your place in it. Let me know your experience learning a new language in the comments, and don't forget to share this with a multilingual friend. That's it from me. I'll see you in a bit.